She called 911 right in front of me and said, "Send an officer now. This trespasser broke into my community." I was standing in my own doorway when she said it. Her hand was still shaking from trying to force her master key into my lock. The key didn't turn. It didn't even fit, but that didn't stop her from acting like she owned the place. "You saw it," she shouted to the neighbors who were peeking through blinds. "The HOA gave me authority. He's not allowed to live here." I leaned against the doorframe and watched her talk to the dispatcher. "Yes, I'm the HOA compliance head," she said louder than needed. "He changed the locks. That's illegal. Illegal. On my house." She pulled a laminated card from her purse and flashed it at me like a badge. It had the HOA logo printed crooked at the top. Under her name, it said Community Enforcement Supervisor. I almost smiled. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "you just tried to unlock my house." She stepped closer. "Because this property is under review. You were sent a violation notice." I never got one. "That's not my problem." Behind her, two of her friends stood near the sidewalk, whispering. One of them recorded on her phone. Karen loved an audience. "You renters think you can just move in and ignore the rules," she snapped. I let that word hang in the air. "Renter, you sure about that?" I asked. She didn't answer. She was too busy pretending to cry into the phone now. "Yes, officer, I feel unsafe. He's aggressive. He's blocking me from inspecting the property, blocking her from entering my house." I looked down at the key still stuck halfway into my lock. It wasn't even close to matching. "Karen," I said quietly, "that key doesn't open this door. It opens every door in this subdivision." She shot back. "We had them installed last year." "No," I reply. "You had them installed on HOA-owned rentals." Her face twitched for just a second. Then she recovered. "You're not on the approved list." "Approved by who?" "By me." There it was. A black SUV turned the corner at the end of the street. Not a marked patrol car. Just a plain vehicle. Karen didn't notice. She was too busy talking over the dispatcher. "Yes, he's threatening me now," she lied. "He said he knows powerful people." I hadn't said that. I stepped forward slightly. "Be careful with your words." "Oh, I'm not scared of you," she said. "When the police get here, you'll be out of this house before sunset." My phone buzzed in my pocket. One short vibration. I ignored it. She finally hung up and crossed her arms. "They're sending someone important," she said proudly. "Not just regular patrol." The SUV parked quietly across the street. Still, she didn't look. "You know what your mistake was," she continued. "Changing the locks without HOA approval. That's grounds for removal." "Removal?" I asked. "Eviction." The neighbors gasped softly. I stared at her for a long moment. "You can't evict an owner." Her smile froze. "You're not the owner," she said quickly. I reached into my back pocket slowly, carefully, and pulled out a folded paper. I didn't hand it to her. I just let her see the county seal at the top. She blinked. "That's fake. Original deed," I said. "Filed 3 weeks ago." She stepped back like I had pushed her. "That's impossible. That property was under HOA control." "It was," I said, "until it wasn't." The SUV door opened across the street. A man stepped out. No uniform, just plain clothes, calm walk. Karen finally noticed. "Oh good," she said loudly. "He's here." She waved her arms dramatically. "Officer, over here. This is the man." The man didn't rush. He didn't look confused. He walked straight toward us, eyes locked on me for a brief second, then back to her. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "you're the one who called?" "Yes," she said, pointing at me. "He broke HOA code and blocked my inspection. I tried using the master key and he assaulted me verbally." The man looked at the lock. The key still stuck in it. He looked at me again, then back at her. "You attempted entry?" he asked her. "Yes. As authorized." He nodded slowly. "Can I see your authorization papers?" She froze for half a breath, then started digging in her purse. "They're here somewhere. I have full authority." The man glanced at me again. Very slight nod. I nodded back. Karen pulled out folded documents and handed them over with shaky confidence. "Right here. Signed by the HOA board." The man scanned them quickly. Silence. The neighbors leaned in closer. Finally, he looked up. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "this document expired 8 months ago." Her face drained of color. "That's not possible." "And this title," he added, lifting the second page, was legally transferred 3 weeks ago. She turned toward me slowly. What did you do? I bought my house, I said simply. No, she whispered. You're just a renter. I checked. You checked the old records. The man handed her papers back. And one more thing, he said quietly. Karen swallowed. You reported a trespasser, he continued, that the property owner is standing right here. She stared at him, then at me. Wait, she said softly. If you're the owner, then who are you? I suddenly took a step off my porch and looked her straight in the eyes. The person you asked 911 to send, I said. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out, because the man standing beside her wasn't just any officer responding to her call. He worked directly under me, and Karen had no idea who she had just tried to evict from his own house. Karen's fingers tightened around her fake badge like it could still save her. That's not funny, she said, trying to laugh. You're just trying to scare me. I'm not joking, I reply. The man beside her didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Ma'am, he said calmly, you filed a false emergency report. You also attempted forced entry. I have authority, she snapped. The HOA board gave me control over this property. You don't have control over county records, he answered. Her two friends slowly stopped recording. One of them whispered, Karen, maybe we should go. Don't you dare walk away, Karen hissed at them. Then she turned back to me. You planned this. You trapped me. No, I said quietly. You walked into this. She looked at the SUV again, then back at him. If you work under him, she said carefully, then what exactly does he do? The man hesitated for half a second, then looked at me. I gave a small nod. He's the county's new property enforcement director, he said. Effective last month. Her face went blank. That position doesn't even. It does now. I cut in. The wind moved through the trees. The street was silent except for distant traffic. You created a fake enforcement unit, I continued. You printed badges. You installed unauthorized master locks on rental properties. You issued fines that were never filed with the county. Her lips trembled. That's HOA business. It stopped being HOA business when you filed legal claims you didn't have authority to file. Her friend slowly lowered her phone completely. You changed the locks on 3 families last year, I added. One of them had a newborn inside when you tried to lock them out. That was different, she whispered. It was illegal. She looked around, realizing the neighbors weren't on her side anymore. You're targeting me, she said weakly. No, I reply. You targeted people who thought they had no power. Her breathing got faster. You can't arrest me, she said to the man. I called you. He gave a small, almost sad look. Yes, you did. Another vehicle turned into the street. This time, it was a marked patrol unit. Karen's eyes widened. Why is there backup? Standard procedure, he said. For what? She demanded. For impersonating county enforcement and filing a false emergency report. Her fake badge slipped from her hand and hit the concrete. Clack. One of the neighbors actually gasped. This is insane, she said. I run this HOA. You run meetings, I corrected her. You don't run the law. The patrol officer stepped out and approached calmly. What's the situation? He asked. The man beside her spoke clearly. We have a false report and attempted unlawful entry. Also possible fraud related to HOA enforcement claims. Karen turned toward me, eyes wide with something new now. Fear. You set me up, she whispered. I shook my head. You tried to use a master key on the wrong door. She suddenly straightened, like she remembered something important. Wait, she said quickly. The board approved everything. They signed the enforcement authority. I watched her carefully. There is no board, I said. Silence. Her friends looked confused. What do you mean? One of them asked. The board dissolved last year after a financial audit, I reply. Half of them resigned. Karen stared at me like I had just spoken another language. No. I've been holding meetings. Yes, I said. You've been holding meetings. The patrol officer looked between us. Ma'am, he said gently, who exactly have you been reporting to? She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. The man beside her pulled out a folder from under his arm. We've been investigating HOA fraud complaints for 6 weeks, he said. Most of the reports mentioned one name. Her voice cracked. You investigated me. I looked at her evenly. You sent violation notices to my address 2 days after I closed on the house, I said, before I even moved in. Her head snapped up. Because you weren't approved. I bought the property directly from the county after foreclosure, I reply, which means it was never under HOA transfer authority again. That hit her harder than anything. You can't just bypass us, she said weakly. I didn't bypass you, I said. You just stopped existing. The second patrol officer stepped closer now. Ma'am, he said softly, I'm going to need you to turn around. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. You're arresting me? Over a misunderstanding? No, I answered before the officer could. Over a pattern. She looked at me like she finally understood something. You moved here on purpose, she said slowly. I didn't smile. I move where there's a problem, I said. The cuffs clicked around her wrists. The sound echoed louder than it should have. One of her friends started crying. This isn't fair, Karen said through tears. I was protecting the neighborhood. From who? I asked quietly. She didn't answer. As they guided her toward the patrol car, she suddenly turned her head toward me. This isn't over, she said. I held her gaze. Oh, I replied calmly, it is. But as the patrol car door shut, my phone buzzed again, to short vibrations this time. I checked the screen. A new alert. Another HOA complaint. Different street, different name, same pattern. I looked up slowly, because Karen might have been loud, but she wasn't the only one. The patrol car pulled away slowly. No sirens. No rush, just quiet. Karen sat in the back seat staring straight ahead like none of this was real. The neighbors didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They just watched. Some shocked. Some guilty. Some pretending they never supported her. Her fake badge was still on the ground. I bent down, picked it up, and turned it over in my hand. Cheap plastic. Printed at home. Laminated wrong. Community enforcement supervisor. She really believed it. My officer stepped beside me. You want us to process her now? Yes, I said, but don't push too hard. Let her talk. He nodded. She will. She always does. The second patrol unit left. The street slowly started breathing again. An older man from 2 houses down finally walked over. I didn't know she didn't have authority, he said quietly. You didn't ask, I reply. He swallowed. She said you were some renter causing problems. I just bought the place. He looked confused. Why here? That question again. I looked down the street. Perfect lawns, fresh paint, flags hanging from porches, because sometimes the worst control hides in the nicest neighborhoods. I said. He didn't know what to say to that. I walked back inside my house. The door shut softly behind me. Silence. Boxes still stacked in the living room. I hadn't even finished unpacking. My phone buzzed again. Different number. I answered, yes. She's in the system, my officer said. And you were right. She wasn't just printing fake notices. She opened a separate HOA account. I leaned against the kitchen counter. How much? $42,000 in violation fees. I closed my eyes for a moment. From how many families? 10 confirmed. Maybe more. And the board. There hasn't been a legal bore in almost a year. Exactly what I thought. So she was collecting money with no oversight. I said, yes. And using intimidation to force payments. Yes. I ended the call slowly. This wasn't just a power-hungry neighbor. This was fraud. My phone vibrated again. This time it was a text. Unknown number. I opened it. You don't know what you just started. No name, no context, just that. I stared at it for a long second, then locked my screen. If Karen wasn't the only one, then someone else was nervous. That night, around 10 p.m., I stepped outside. Quiet street, porch lights on, crickets in the distance. But something felt off. My mailbox door was open. I walked toward it slowly. Inside was a folded piece of paper. No envelope, just a single line written in red marker. Stay out of HOA business. I looked around. No cars moving, no shadows, just silence. I took the paper back inside and placed it on the table. Then I checked my security system for cameras. Front yard, backyard, driveway, doorbell. I rewound footage 10 minutes. A hooded figure walked up to the mailbox. Face covered. They slid the note in and walked away calmly. No rush. They knew where the cameras were. They stayed just outside the clear angle. That wasn't random. That was planned. The next morning, the story was already spreading. Neighbors talking. Text groups buzzing. Karen arrested. HOA fraud. County investigation. By noon, 3 families knocked on my door. One by one. A young couple first. She fined us $2,500 for parking our truck in the driveway, the husband said. Said it wasn't approved. Did you pay? I asked. Yes. Did she give a receipt? He hesitated. Just a printed HOA slip. I nodded. Bring me copies, I said. Then an older woman came. She said my son's flag was offensive, she whispered. Threatened to put a lien on my house. What flag? An Army veteran flag. I felt something tighten in my chest. She said only American flags were allowed. The woman added. I nodded slowly. Karen had crossed lines she didn't even understand. By late afternoon, I had a stack of papers on my kitchen table. Fake notices, fake violation letters, dank transfer screenshots. She wasn't just loud, she was organized. And someone helped her. At 3 p.m., my officer called again. You might want to sit down, he said. I'm already sitting. She's not talking. About what? About the money. I leaned back in my chair. She doesn't think she'd be charged, he continued. She says she was acting in good faith. She impersonated authority. Yes, but here's the twist. There it was. She claims the county approved her enforcement expansion. My grip tightened on the phone. That's a lie. She says she has emails. From who? She won't say. I stood up slowly. If someone inside the county backed her, even unofficially, that meant this was bigger. She mentioned a name. I asked. Yes. Silence. Which name? I pressed. He hesitated. Yours. My heart didn't race. It just went very still. What exactly did she say? I asked carefully. She told booking officers you authorized her temporary enforcement power before your appointment went public. That was impossible. My appointment had been sealed until official release. Only a handful of people knew. Get me the recorded statement, I said. You think she's bluffing? I think she's desperate. But something didn't sit right. That evening, I drove to the county office quietly, not in an official vehicle, just my own car. The building was nearly empty. My office lights were off, but one door down the hall was still lit. Deputy Administrator Collins. He had been in charge before my role was created. I walked toward the door. It was slightly open. He was inside, talking on the phone. Yes, she panicked. He was saying, no, he doesn't know yet. I stopped walking. My shadow didn't cross the doorway. He's not supposed to look into old HOA disputes, Collins continued. That wasn't part of the agreement. Agreement? With who? DeVos on the other end asked faintly. With the board donors, Collins said quietly. We let neighborhood issues handle themselves. Board donors. My jaw tightened. Collins leaned back in his chair. Once this blows over, we'll say she acted alone. Acted alone. I stepped forward and pushed the door fully open. His face went pale. The phone slipped from his hand and hit the desk. Evening, I said calmly. He swallowed. You're here late. So are you. Silence filled the room. You want to explain what you meant by agreement? I asked. He tried to smile. You must have misunderstood. I heard enough. He stood slowly. Look, these HOA disputes aren't worth county resources. We let communities self-manage. By allowing fake enforcement and financial fraud, we didn't know about fraud. You knew she was issuing penalties without oversight. That's not illegal. It is when she impersonates county authority. His jaw tightened. You're new, he said quietly. You don't understand how things work here. I understand perfectly. He leaned forward slightly. You weren't hired to clean house. I wasn't. No, he said. You were hired to make things look controlled. There it was. The real picture. Karen wasn't random, I said slowly. She was useful. He didn't answer. You let her bully families because it kept complaints off your desk. Still no answer. And now she's in custody, I continued. And she thinks I approved her. He exhaled sharply. She misunderstood a conversation. What conversation? He hesitated. I may have told her enforcement rules were flexible. Flexible doesn't mean fabricate badges. She got carried away. And $42,000. That's on her. I stepped closer. You protected her because she scared people into compliance. You're overreacting. No, I said quietly. You underestimated the wrong neighborhood. He stared at me. You think you can fix this? He asked. I know I can. He shook his head. You're going to make enemies. I gave him a calm look. I already have. His office phone buzzed on the desk. He didn't pick it up. I turned toward the door. Collins, I said before leaving. Yes, if I find one email connecting you to her fake authority, I won't handle it quietly. His face tightened. I walked out without another word. Back in my car, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Another text. "You're digging too deep." I typed back one line. "You should have picked a weaker door." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. The next morning, news spread faster than expected. Someone leaked her arrest. Local radio mentioned HOA fraud investigation. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact were suddenly friendly. I typed back one line. "You should have picked a weaker door." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. The next morning, news spread faster than expected. Someone leaked her arrest. Local radio mentioned HOA fraud investigation. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact were suddenly friendly. The tension was building. Around noon, a moving truck parked outside Karen's house. Her husband was loading boxes. Fast. Too fast. I walked across the street calmly. He saw me and froze. "Leaving?" I asked. He nodded quickly. "We're relocating." That was fast. He wiped sweat from his forehead. "It's complicated. Did you know about the money?" He didn't answer. "That's not what this is about," he said finally. "You don't understand the pressure." "What pressure?" He glanced toward the house nervously. "She wasn't alone." "I know." His eyes snapped to mine. "You think she came up with all that by herself?" he asked quietly. "No." He swallowed. "You should stop," he said. "They won't let you tear it down." "Who is they?" He shook his head. "I already said too much." He turned and climbed into the truck. Engine started. They were gone within the hour. Running, that confirmed it. By evening, I had confirmation from internal audit. Multiple neighborhoods. Similar complaints. Same fake compliance expansion. Different names. Different Karens. Same structure. It wasn't just one woman abusing power. It was a system that let small tyrants operate because no one wanted paperwork. And I had just kicked the first brick out of the wall. That night, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. A teenage boy stood there. Nervous. I opened the door. "You're the new county guy?" he asked. "Yes. My mom told me not to come," he said quickly. "But I need to show you something." He held up his phone. A video. Karen, talking to someone inside a car. "You handled this street," she said, in the video. "I'll collect from the East Block." My eyes narrowed. "Where did you get that?" I asked. "I was riding my bike," he said. "They didn't see me." "Who's in the car?" He swallowed. "Mr. Collins, the deputy administrator." My chest went still again. "Can you send that to me?" I asked calmly. He nodded. "And don't tell anyone you showed me." He nodded again. As he walked away, I realized something important. Karen wasn't the top. She was just loud enough to distract from who really controlled things. And now, they knew I wasn't going to look away. I watched the video 3 times. Karen standing outside the driver's window. Collins inside the car. Her voice clear. "You handled this street. I'll collect from the East Block." His answer was lower, but still there. "Keep it quiet." No official notices. Just pressure. Pressure. That was their system. No paperwork. No trace. Just fear. I didn't send the video to anyone that night. I drove to the county building instead. It was after 9 p.m. Lights were mostly off. Cleaning crew on the 2nd floor. Collins' office door was locked. Good. I used my access card and went to records. Internal email archive. If he was sloppy, I would find it. I searched HOA. Then flexible enforcement. Then Karen's full name. One result popped up. Subject: temporary neighborhood stabilization. Sent 8 months ago. From Collins. To Karen. The message was short. Operate under general compliance guidelines. Keep formal filings off county record unless escalated. No badge authorization. No official title. But enough to make her believe she had backing. And enough to show he knew. I printed it. Then I printed bank audit summaries. Then the video file from the teenager's upload. I put everything into one folder. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I walked into the county commissioners' meeting unannounced. Public session. Room half full. Collins was at the side table, looking calm like always, until he saw me walk to the front. He stiffened. "You're not on the agenda," he said quietly. "I am now," I replied. The commissioners looked confused. "Director," one of them said. "What is this about?" I placed the folder on the table. "This is about unauthorized enforcement operations across multiple neighborhoods," I said clearly, "including financial fraud and abuse of authority." Collins stood up. That's an exaggeration. I ignored him. I connected my phone to the display screen. The video played. Karen's face appeared first. Then Collins in the driver's seat. Silence filled the room. The words echoed. You handle this street. I'll collect from the East Block. Keep it quiet. The video ended. No one moved. One commissioner slowly turned toward Collins. Is this real? He asked. Collins' face had lost its color. It's taken out of context, he said quickly. Then explain the context, I replied calmly. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. This was about neighborhood safety, he said. Encouraging community standards. With fake badges, I asked. With $42,000 in private collections, I added. He looked trapped now. You let private individuals impersonate enforcement, I continued. You avoid formal filings to keep complaints off record. That's not what. You told her to operate off record, I said, sliding the printed email forward. A commissioner picked it up. Read it. Then read it again. Operate under general compliance guidelines. Keep formal filings off county record. The room went quiet again. One commissioner leaned back slowly. You expose this publicly? He asked me. Yes. Why not handle it internally? Because internally, I said, looking straight at Collins, it was protected. That landed. Collins sat down slowly. The commissioners requested a recess. 10 minutes later, they came back. Effective immediately, the head commissioner said. Deputy Administrator Collins, suspended pending formal investigation. Collins didn't argue. He didn't even look at me. He just stared forward like the ground had disappeared. That was twist number one. But it wasn't the last. By afternoon, the news stations picked it up. County official linked to HOA fraud. Karen's arrest turned into something bigger. Families started coming forward from other neighborhoods. Different Karens. Different compliance heads. Same pattern. Pressure. Fear. Quiet collections. Within a week, 3 more arrests were made. Not loud personalities. Not dramatic women with fake badges. Quiet men in office chairs. The ones who signed nothing, but allowed everything. Karen was processed formally. Fraud. False reporting. Impersonating authority. But when she requested a meeting, I agreed. She sat across from me in the interview room. No makeup. No audience. No fake badge. You ruined my life, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I thought I was protecting the neighborhood, she continued. You were protecting control, I said. She shook her head. Collins told me enforcement was flexible. He said communities needed strong leadership, and you like that, I reply. She looked down. I didn't think it was illegal, she whispered. You changed locks on families, I said. You threatened liens you couldn't file. Tears slid down her face. He said the county wouldn't step in. He was right, I said. Until now. She looked at me slowly. Why did you move here? She asked. I held her gaze. Because someone sent a complaint that said, we feel trapped in our own homes. Her breathing hitched. I didn't fight for this country, I continued calmly. To watch families get pushed around on their own land. That line stayed between us. She didn't argue after that. Court came fast. Collins resigned before formal charges were announced. But charges came anyway. Misconduct. Conspiracy. Financial oversight failure. Karen accepted a plea deal. Restitution. Probation. Community service. No jail time. Some neighbors were angry about that. But I wasn't. Because the real win wasn't her sitting in a cell. It was the system being forced into light. 3 months later, the subdivision looked the same. Lawns cut. Flags flying. Kids riding bikes. But something had changed. HOA authority was rewritten. Clear boundaries. Transparent filings. Public oversight. No more master keys. No more fake enforcement badges. One afternoon, the older woman with the veteran flag walked up to me. They drop all violations, she said softly. I nodded. She smiled. My son hung to flags now. I almost laughed. Good, I said. Then she added quietly. People were scared to speak up. I know. She looked down the street. They're not anymore. That was the point. Later that evening, I sat on my porch. Same door Karen tried to unlock. Same lock her key never fit. A black SUV drove slowly down the street. Different driver. State investigators finishing follow-ups. They nodded as they passed. I nodded back. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I looked at it for a moment before opening. Other counties are asking questions. No threat this time. Just information. I typed back one line. Tell them to check their locks. 3 dots appeared. Then a reply. They are. I leaned back in my chair. This neighborhood was quiet now, but somewhere else, another Karen might be holding a fake badge. Another Collins might be calling it flexible. That's the thing about power. It grows in silence and dies in exposure. A group of kids rode past on bikes, laughing. Free. No one chasing them with violation slips. No one threatening their parents over grass height. Just normal life. I looked at my front door one more time. Solid wood. Strong lock. My land. My house. And no one was ever going to use a fake key on it again. Because sometimes the person you call to remove someone is the one who removes you instead.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.